Siddharth Roy Kapur and Nikkhil Advani. Listen, I'm really elated today because right now what I'm witnessing is there are two people who, when they sit together, they bring along close to 40 to 45 years of experience in just film and web series production. Tell me one learning that these many years of production has taught you.
That makes us feel very old. I can speak when I say that. But I guess what this many years of production teaches you is that you might have thought you've learned all the lessons you had to learn, but there's a new one that sort of you come across every day, which is the torture and the privilege and the thrill of being in production. So I think there's always a new challenge that you might never have anticipated, but that's what keeps us going, I guess.
Nikhil, can you elaborate a little more than that?
No, I don't want to elaborate at all. It's as if Sid has read my mind. I was thinking about the same thing. It's just that I think he has just said it better. So it's absolutely, he's absolutely right in the sense that every day you feel that, oh wow, 40 years of, or whatever, 25 years each of experience, and boom. Oh, I didn't think about that.
Actually, and though Siddharth Roy Kapur still has that charm of MNC culture that he has witnessed in the last 20 to 25 years. He's been with Star, various networks, and incidentally, I was also a part of the same network while he was there. But Nikhil, you with all this beard actually look more like a producer, like an Indian Desi producer, these worn out looks and all. What's happening?
Where do Indian producers look like this? Yeah, the Indian producers I have worked with have been really lovely Punjabi old men with who are balding, right? So these are the kind of for me it's brand new when I get into my office and I have my two partners. One is my sister, one is Madhu, and so they don't look like those two, Yash Johar and Yash Chopra at all. So it's the world. I mean, yeah, and this is I'm getting ready to start shooting Mumbai Diaries. So I'm getting into that zone.
Wow.
I'm trying to show everybody that I'm working very hard. I don't have time to shave, trim my beard, nothing. Yeah.
It's a cultivated hard look.
It's positioning up. I have a lot of work. Don't mess with me.
Don't disturb me.
Okay. Now, listen, everybody who's watching this video or this show, let me tell you, there was a point in time when Siddharth was with UTV, there were these 5 to 6 years, particularly, so many films from UTV had actually represented India at the Academy Awards, and either they were produced or distributed by UTV. So Siddharth, you bring along not just experience in production, but also the experience of churning out great movies who are loved commercially, who are loved by intellectual people, who are loved by Indian audiences and abroad. The art, the knack of making films that can appeal to the Academy is one skill. I will come to Rocket Boys, the trailer of which I have absolutely loved. It is trending. It's doing so well on YouTube ever since it dropped there. Tell me, what is a good film or a good web series?
I think our primary purpose is to entertain, right? And if we're able to entertain, that means that should translate into either box office numbers, the appreciation of the audience. All those things, I think, are what classify you as something that has entered the popular culture. So for me, at least, a benchmark is that has whatever one has created been embraced by an audience as wide as possible, or has it reached out to, if it's a different kind of a product that was designed for a more limited audience, has it been able to reach out to that audience and make them inspired and entertained and engaged? So for me, it's really about that. If a second layer to that happens to be that they get inspired, that their eyes open up to something new that they might not have thought of before, etc., that's great. But I think we are entertainers, and this is show business. So there's some show and there's some business, and it all has to come together in order to be able to be called a success.
If I told you that what are you doing, Nikhil? I'm making a show about two scientists. One is called Dr. Sarabhai and the other is called Dr. Homi Bhabha. And one was the father of space research, the other father of nuclear energy. You would just say, "ये documentary बना रहा है."
Correct.
And I think that given one of the first things that we all did with Abhay in the writing room, right? Sid, myself, the other team that was researching and writing was that listen, how do we make this entertaining? Because people are going to not want to watch really two fuddy-duddy old guys doing science. The lovely thing, Atika, I was talking to Abhay the other day after the trailer dropped, and he said, "Sir, you don't realize that 75% of the trailer is only episode 1 and episode 2.
Okay.
The remaining 6 episodes is still left."
Wow.
He's right. He's true. It's true. So I mean, so much material of their lives were so rich, right?
Yeah.
So the idea was that how do we make this tell this story, which is a very important story to tell, but say it in a way that people are going to not only be able to sit with their children, but be able to sit with friends and call up and have conversation about, have you seen this, have you seen that, hear the music is very R.D. Burmanish, so it is, Sid is absolutely right.
The homie Baba says, "ये जूते कहाँ की है, ये बेल्ट कहाँ की है, ये कोट का कहाँ है, आपकी वॉच कहाँ की है, सब कुछ तो बाहर कहाँ है, हम इंडिया में तो कुछ कर ही नहीं रहे हैं." That was not just homie J Baba. तो ये बात दिल को छूती है.
The scene that you're talking about, Atika, is one of our favorite scenes also. I mean, we've seen all the 8 episodes, and it is a scene that we all know, and it's amazing because actually the scene is taking place in 1950. Right. Yeah. So in 1950, when somebody says, I want to build something, I want to make sure that I create a research center which allows us to build and manufacture, everything in this country, because everything that otherwise we are just bringing everything from outside.
Right.
So for them to have thought about what actually we started doing, just now, right? I mean, so they were already setting the stones and setting the foundations for where we are today, which is very inspiring. Yeah.
Siddharth, your wife, the very brilliant Vidya Balan, did a film called Shakuntala Devi. Now, when you deal with the biographical treatment of a legendary figure, you sometimes become very careful about what take are you taking on his or her personal life. I was going through Mallika Sarabhai's interviews, and she said that my father, after 20 to 25 years of marriage, fell in love with another woman. And I later realized that it is okay and absolutely natural to like 2 people in one lifetime, even though you're married. Is this portion of Vikram Sarabhai in these 8 episodes that you have, or you are straying away from their personal lives?
You'll have to watch it to find out.
Okay.
What I will tell you is that Mallika Sarabhai and her family have been a very integral part of our journey. And they've spent hours and hours with Nikkhil and Abhay actually helping us to be able to understand, her father. And she's someone who's been very close to the project all along. And they've been very, very open and very generous with their time and very happy to contribute to the dramatization that they know is required when you're telling the story of a real life figure. If you, like we were just discussing, and as Nikkhil said, if you don't want it to be a documentary. So I think they've been with us every step of the way. And Nikkhil, you want to add something to that?
Just one thing, in the sense that Mallika Sarabhai saw her 4 days ago or 3 days ago. I don't remember when. She came to the office. She was crying at the right times, and she pointed out some of the Gujarati that we had made a mistake with. And she said that this has to change. This, you cannot have, the Gujarati has to be correct at this and that. So they are doing that right now. Okay. But she also sent a message to all to us as well as to Sony Live, saying that I'm so glad that you guys have done this and you guys have got it right. So I think that so, like you said, that when Vidya does Shakuntala Devi, the responsibility is, of course, we want anybody who's watching, who's going to come on to Sony Live and watch this show, we want them to enjoy it. But our first and primary responsibility is to the Sarabhais. The first thing Sid and I did when we decided to do this was actually fly down to Ahmedabad and meet up with Mallika Sarabhai and her brother, and we told them this is what we want to do. And they had obviously been approached by several other people, but like you began this conversation, they took into account our 45 years of experience.
So they blindly trusted you.
Yeah.
So do we. Okay, tell me, as producers, I'm just going to be in conversation with Jim Saab and Ishfaq also in some time. But as producers, creating that time, 1950s, the production design and the set, and especially the nuclear setup that we are talking about, and ISRO and space research and everything. In the trailers, we've seen that while they were youngsters actually. It was like a college setup, you know, little like a boarding setup. We saw they're experimenting with the subjects that they're passionate about, but later in life, I don't know how much of their life have you covered. Is it till the end, till the death? So when they were at the peak of their time, when they were at the peak of their careers, that was the time when Indira Gandhi was there, emergency was there, 1960s, 70s, and Indo-Chinese war was there, everything, and the whole setup and the world and the society before liberalization, which means a lot of cotton wearing, which means a lot of radios, and a very old setup. So how much in detail have you gone into that world, physically creating that world?
A lot. I think that I want to use this opportunity to give a shout out to, Abhay is a great general, and he had wonderful troops around him to aid him. I mean, so whether it is the DOP Harshvi Oberoi, whether it is our production designer Meghna Gandhi, whether it is our costume person Uma Biju, whether it is just Shoma, Shoma who's done the prosthetics. Vikram Sarabhai had big ears. He had more than to the extent that so it is it's a 16-part show. You're going to see 8 parts, 8 seasons in season 1, and then there's going to be 8 seasons in season 2. And so the first season goes from 1942 all the way till 1964, and the second season is from 64 to 74. So so it spans their entire life. It spans their whole journey.
Siddharth, you tell me, what have you learned from the lives of these two gentlemen?
Nowadays, when you look at conflict between two people, it tends to be personal. It tends to be more emotion driven with regard to something personal between them. I think this was a time when people argued about philosophies, and they were passionate about their beliefs. And it was not so much about they had a friendship and they had that between them, but they were both patriots, and they both believed in a certain sort of ideal for the country, which might have differed, but they were both patriots, and they were willing to stake a friendship for their beliefs, which I think is very unique, because it just tells you that it was a different time when people had higher and loftier ideals probably, and were sort of operating at a different level, while at the same time being very human. I mean, so what the show tries to do is tries to humanize people who now in retrospect we consider great, obviously, but they were going through life as two human beings just trying to figure it out.
So thank you guys for doing amazing work, both of you producers. Thumbs up for the both of you. Thank you.